Welcome to week 2 of our nutrition and menopause course. I hope you enjoyed the first week. This week we are going to be looking a little bit deeper into nutrition tips that help manage symptoms and support healthy aging during menopausal years. So we're going to start with, we'll do an overview of all of them, and then we'll just hone in on hydration. So hormonal changes, as we've stated, are an inevitable part of the aging process for women, but symptoms can vary, and they're related to these changes vary. So we're going to look at some overall tips that will help manage most of the symptoms. So the first of all that we're going to look at deeply today is drinking adequate fluids. Next week, we'll talk about alcohol, the use of, either limiting it or avoiding it altogether. We'll look at just facts, and you make your own decisions in regards to that. We'll talk the next week about the impact that caffeine and spicy foods has on our gut microbiome and on our hormones as we go through the menopausal years. We'll talk about in the following week, or that might be in that third week as well, eating nutrient-rich foods, dense foods. So we'll look at exactly what that means and how to best sustain hormone balance holistically. And then lastly, we'll look at how to manage weight during these years. This is typically a time when it's challenging for us as we begin to sometimes put on a little bit of weight. So we'll look at managing weight through lifestyle strategy. So today we're going to look at hydration. So adequate hydration during menopause is vital to mitigate some of the symptoms caused by our fluctuating hormones. Some of those are hot flashes, night sweats, joint pain, fatigue, vaginal dryness. So a proper water take is essential, and it supports metabolism, and it aids temperature regulation, and improves cognitive function, bloating, and it helps us manage weight gain as well. So before we spend time there, let's talk about how to sustain change. How to sustain change long term. That's going to be an essential element or piece of the journey ahead that we'll carry with us throughout the rest of the course. So we'll get to the hydration in just a minute. How to change behaviors, health behaviors, any behavior actually. So all change is hard, whether it's good change or whether it's good change or not. Change is just hard. Health behaviors such as nutrition and other lifestyle habits are difficult, and even more difficult to sustain long term. So that's what I want to talk to you about a little bit today. So some of the common barriers, what are they? I bet you can name a few. Some common barriers to changing health behaviors include lack of time, lack of resources, not having the knowledge, and not having a good support system. So to successfully change old behaviors and adopt new habits and stick to them, it's quite complex and it's very individual. So we're going to look at some steps to consider, and I'm going to give you some worksheets to work through as you craft goals in the following weeks. So then, first of all, what is a SMART goal? So a SMART goal is the acronym S stands for specific. We'll talk about that even more deeply in a minute. M is for measurable, A is attainable, R is realistic or relevant, and T is time bound. So we're going to focus on it's important whenever you are making change, just focus on one change, one behavior at a time. It is so tempting to want to change the whole kit and caboodle, to change a bunch of behaviors at once. That can be overwhelming, and it often leads to a sense of failure. It's hard to maintain that. Look at your why. When you consider motivation, recall your purpose or the why behind your behavior change. So there's typically a large umbrella that is the why, and we have to peel back the onions to get to what that overarching why is. I'm going to attach a blog post on what knowing your why looks like, and you'll get that in your portal. But at the heart of understanding our why is the recognition that every single action we take is aimed at something. So what we do and how we do it matters. The habits and practices that we engage in every single day, they shape us whether we realize it or not. And sometimes they're just sort of subconscious behavior. I mean, they're just behaviors that we don't even give a second thought to. Do you ever experience a gap between what you know and what you do? Oh boy, that's a big one. So we know eating healthy is good for us, but we do the opposite oftentimes. We load up on sugar or processed foods, comfort food. So where is that gap? So having some good self-awareness between the gap of what you know and what you do. So knowledge and information and thinking don't liberate us from habits that we want to change. Knowledge and information and thinking are great, but they have their limits, right? So the action is what needs to occur. So next, we need to accept the process. So this process is slow, and sometimes it's 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. Sometimes it's 3 steps forward, 1 step back. So it's a journey, and the behaviors, changing them is difficult, and it might take time. Most likely, it will. So having an attitude of slow and steady. I like the acronym or the little saying and my mantra that I use for so much in my life is this small? Is it something I can do now? So is it small, doable, and now? Is it small enough that I can do it now? It also really helpful is to seek support from a partner, a friend, or a health professional. So health behaviors are often tied to other people, especially those who live in the same household as we are. So, or those we spend a lot of time with, interacting with every day, maybe either at work or friends that we spend engaging a lot of time with. So having those people on board to and to walk along beside you or to accept the changes that you're trying to make is important. Basically, I just walked through that. So, seeking support that can be through a friend, a health coach, a, a group, a community support group. All those are helpful. Walking the path alone can be really challenging. So, to finally enjoy the journey. Find some enjoyment in some of the new habits you engage in. We'll look at we'll talk about that as we move along. But what does that look like for you? Maybe you buy a really fun new water bottle. I did that when I first started. And I'll talk to you about that when we get to hydration. But when I started trying to really up my game with water, buy a new fun water bottle. Research and create some fun mocktails if the decision for you is to cut back on alcohol, and then look at and exploring some caffeine-free teas with a friend who might be pursuing some of the same healthy changes you are. There's some really cool places to get fun herbal teas, loose teas, bag teas, and buy some fun ones to keep around. All right, so the first one we're going to talk about is hydration. So drinking adequate fluids. And a lot of some of the menopausal symptoms can be improved by proper hydration. It's really important during this life stage to stay hydrated. Symptoms such as hot flashes, night sweats, vaginal dryness, bladder infection, they can be improved by proper hydration. And additionally, when we hydrate, that sensation of thirst may change. When we hydrate, it informs our hunger system. It can a lot of times alleviate hunger and keep us from overeating. And as we age, the sensation of thirst changes, so it increases the risk of dehydration because we don't really crave it quite as much. So here's some tips for how to stay hydrated. Eat fruits and vegetables. So there's a lot. It doesn't have to be just through drinking water. Eat water-rich fruits and vegetables such as cucumbers, lettuce, tomato, broccoli, cauliflower, mushrooms, zucchini, asparagus. Lots of fruit is high water content. Oranges, grapefruit, melons, spinach, squash. So I'll leave a list for you in your portal, but just focusing on getting some hydration through fruits and veggies, and then choosing unsweetened beverages. A lot of times that can look like a seltzer water if bubbles are okay for you, or unsweetened coffee as long as we manage the intake of the caffeine, the quantity, and tea. So unsweetened beverages such as water, coffee, tea, some of these fun little flavored waters are crucial for maintaining healthy weight. So what they do is they help regulate blood sugar levels and reduce the risk of chronic diabetes, diseases like diabetes and heart disease. Infused water is another great tip. So using berries or some veggies like cucumber, pineapple is delicious, citrus. So you can use chopped fruits. Make it. I love to put mint in mine. So mint and berries, pineapple. Just play around with it and keep a bottle in your fridge. Carry a water bottle wherever you go. And I like, I just took mine downstairs to fill up, but I carry a 32-ounce water bottle and try to drink 2 of those a day minimally. How much should you drink? That's a great question that many people don't know the answer to. Half of your body weight in ounces per day. So if a woman weighs 120 pounds, that would be 60 ounces of water a day. And that can be challenging. Start small. If it's a habit you haven't really put into your life, if you're drinking minimal amounts of water, I'm a camel. I feel like I can go all day and not drink. So I've had to really put into practice what we'll talk about later is doing some habit stacking so that I can remember to drink. All right. There are times when we need to hydrate more, when you're exercising, when you're doing physical activity, and also when the temperature rises outdoors in heat. So making hydration a habit. So habit stacking is a wonderful practice. So in order to sustain a habit, one of the best things you can do is stack it with something you're currently doing. So attaching a new habit to an existing habit. I'll give you an example. My habit for drinking water. When I realized how little I was drinking, here's how I did my habit stacking. I went and bought a really pretty glass that I termed my water glass, and I put it by my coffee maker. So one of the first things I do when I get up in the morning is fix a cup of coffee. So the habit that I have is before, so you usually use the phrase, before I blank, I will blank, or it can be after I blank, I will blank. So for me, it's before I have my coffee, I will drink 8 ounces of water. I try to make it 16, but 8 is the minimum. So you could say after I brush my teeth, I will do 10 push-ups. So that's just another example of take an existing habit that you do pretty regularly and attach the one that you want to do to it. That has helped me so much in sustaining this habit. What are some signs of hydration? We need to be aware of those. Increased heart rate, chills, muscle cramps, drowsiness, and we get more in danger of that as we get older. Menopause increases dehydration and because of our fluctuating hormones. Estrogen affects fluid retention. Progesterone regulates fluid loss, and symptoms like night flashes and hot sweats deplete fluids. So that thirst sensation decreases as we age, as I said earlier. So it makes it harder to become or easier to become dehydrated or to stay hydrated. And that can exacerbate fatigue, headaches, and temper regulation issues. So staying hydrated by consistently sipping water, keeping that water bottle with you, consuming water-rich foods, being mindful of dehydrating drinks like caffeine and alcohol, that's going to be crucial too for helping managing these symptoms. All right, so let's do a quick review and knowledge check. Name 2 out of the 6 behavior tips to overcome common barriers to change. So be thinking about that. You'll have an opportunity to answer these questions in the knowledge check section of your course. And then secondly, could you identify 2 of the 6 tips for hydration that you can work on and add to your daily routine? So think about those, and then you'll have an opportunity to work on them in the knowledge section of the course. SMART goals. So just to remember, following each lesson, I will give you an opportunity to complete your SMART goal with a worksheet. It will encourage self-efficacy and help you in preparing nutrient-dense foods and snacks that support overall health during menopause and perimenopause. Because every week you'll be getting a myriad of handouts and recipes and video tips and cooking videos that will help you in setting goals. So remember, SMART goals are specific. The more specific, the better. They're measurable. How are you going to gauge your progress? They're attainable and achievable. Can they be done with a given time and skills that you have? Are they relevant and realistic? Does it make sense in helping you get to your bigger goal? And then time bound, having a clear beginning and a clear end. If that's not done, often we just want to float along. So how much time will you spend on your goal? Again, being specific, how much time daily, how much time weekly? So let's bring it all together. Please take advantage of all the other resources in this lesson. So there's cooking videos, as I mentioned, handouts and recipes, and they will support you in bringing this lesson to life in your kitchen. I'll be adding recipes and helpful handouts throughout the 4 weeks, so check back periodically. So good job. Congratulations. You've now completed this lesson. So get cooking with some of these videos.